Shalom! Welcome back to Understanding the World with Rabbi David Kaufman. I'm joined in the studio by Mark Finkelstein of the Jewish Federation of Greater Des Moines and also by Deacon Francis Chan from St. Ambrose Church. Before we get started talking about South Sudan, I'd like to thank Dr. Ronald Bergman and Bergman Folkers Cosmetic Surgery and Spa for his support of the show. Without his support, we wouldn't be able to do what we do. So with that, Deacon Francis, I'd like to welcome you into the studio.
Where are you from originally, Francis?
Rabbi, I'm originally from Southern Sudan, a state called Upper Nile.
You need to speak into the mic.
A state of Upper Nile, which is just on the border with the Sudan.
In what city or what village?
The city of Malakal,
Malakal, okay. So,
which is the capital of the states, the state of Upper Nile.
Okay. And
Well, how long have you been in the United States?
Well, coming this April, I will make 14 years living in Des Moines, Iowa.
I see.
And Francis and Mark and I have worked on a lot of things together over the years, and we started. I guess we started working together in 2003 with the Darfur crisis. Right? You tell us a little about what you do and how we ended up starting to work together.
Well, Rabbi, it seems that you have a very strong memory. I couldn't believe that we have been together 13 years since when we started 10 years ago with the crisis which was taking place in Western Sudan, Darfur in particular. And I think at the time that our connection, I believe that it was Dr. Mark, which has brought us together when we feel that it is our human responsibility to show our solidarity with our brother that which the exercise they did, the genocide was exercised on them in Darfur. I will never stop thanking you because if really your conscience was not calling you as a human at the time, you wouldn't reach out to us as a, by the time we were called Sudanese.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, maybe there is a different a little bit 2 years back now. So that is the time I could remember starting working together just to be the voice of voiceless in Darfur. And it was not easy at the time, as I keep saying this all the time, for our brother from Northern Sudan or from Darfur in particular, to come and spend some time in synagogue or spend some time in the church. It was not easy for them. But I think after a few movement, they realized that we were there for them just because we care about the humanity.
Now, the Muslims had never been in a church, much less a synagogue, some of them. And many of the group had never been in a synagogue until the event that we had that year, I think, to talk about Darfur.
Absolutely, you're right, Rabbi. I remember talking to one of their elder, which was the first person that I interrogated that, because you know the Sudanese way of life is based on respect to the elder. So I remember at the time reaching Muhammad Ashur, who was able to convince his community that there is nothing. You are not going to worship as a Jewish, or you are not going to worship as a Catholic when you go to the Catholic Church. Those people are here for us, and it was a great achievement that showing our brother that people like you, as a Jewish people who went through this, it was just you did not want what had happened in the history to be repeat itself again on our watch, and that is what the reasons that our brother realized that it is important that they work with us.
Well, thank you. Francis, you were a member of a different ethnic community, one that was not Darfurian. Why did you have empathy for the people of Darfur?
I was born during the wartime, and I became a father during the wartime, and I know how it's painful to live in the war zone. So my experience or my conscience as a somebody who grew up in that environment has called me to stand with my brother. There was no any reason for me to leave Sudan if it was not persecutions. So I know that my brother from West has been mistreated. I mean, from Western Sudan, Darfur in particular, they've been mistreated. And that was what was my conscience was telling me. It is the time now to show your humanity and show your solidarity with your brother who has been mistreated. And we know that the genocide took place in Western Sudan, in Darfur in particular. It's still repeating itself today in Nuba Mountain. And just the world is keeping silent. We hearing day and day, especially people who have connection like myself. Because my tribe, or originally the area where I come from, we live on the border with the Nuba Mountain. And those Nuba Mountain, a lot of them has flee to our area, to our city. And I hear a lot from my people back, some of my relatives, that we live here with the Nuba because they have been forced to leave their land.
And your tribe is Shilluk, right? Can you tell us a little bit about the Shilluk tribe?
Oh, yes, I'm a Shilluk by tribe, and I need to explain a little bit about the name, Shilluk.
Shilluk.
Because Shilluk, actually, that's the name is being imposed on us by the Arabs.
Ah, okay.
We are called Chollo, Chollo. Sometimes we are called Luo, which is the same tribes found in northern Kenya. So Shilluk is the third largest tribes after Dinka and Nuer in southern Sudan. So we are considered as the third largest tribe in southern Sudan. We did not refuse the name, but if you see the Shilluk man dealing among themselves, they will never refer to themselves Shilluk. They will refer to themselves Luo, Lou, or Chollo. That's the name they prepare. Because the Arabs were not able to pronounce the word Chollo, so they changed it to Shilluk.
So we were all very proud together to see when the new state of South Sudan was formed just a couple of years ago. How did that come about?
Dr. Mark, I remember very well on that day. That was on the 9th of January of 2011, when a large number from Des Moines, Iowa, went to the pool in Omaha, Nebraska. And that was the first time in my life to exercise my rights as a human, as a grown-up man, to put bullet in the box so that I could
Ballot.
Correct. By those times, when I remember back now, all this diversity of all different tribes of southern Sudan came together as a one people, wanted to assure that they exercise their rights. And at the time, there was no any referring to a Nuer or a Dinka or Shilluk or Chollo, but we were there as a one nation, wanted to to tell the world that we wanted to become free. Unfortunately, that freedom is being misused today.
The current government was the original founding government of the country. Were there free elections established to elect the government?
Well, based on, because the election took place in 2010 when I was here in the United States, we heard a lot of some complaints from some individual politicians that there was a lot of wrecking of the elections, that there in some other regions a lot of game is being played, but all the southern Sudanese people were ready to vote in their first president, regardless that election was free and there was a transparency in it or not. So we, as a Southern Sudanese people, we did not look back that the elections were fair or not. We wanted to exercise our right, and we wanted to bring the president for the first time which was brought in by the people of Southern Sudan.
And we're joined on the phone right now also by Sam Machar, who's also from South Sudan. Sam, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Rabbi.
Hi, how are you? So Mark Finkelstein and Francis Chan are with me in the studio, so it's good to have you on. We're talking a little bit about the founding of South Sudan and what it was like when South Sudan was initially founded. And where are you from? Where's your family from?
My family are from Lake State, which is one of the states in Bahr el-Ghazal region.
And Bahr el-Ghazal is northwest, right? No.
Yeah, I am actually, my state is center. It's center of South Sudan. We are in the heart of South Sudan very much. We have border with Unity State, Jonglei State, and Central Equatoria, Western Equatoria, and Warab State. So we do have around us 5 or 6 states. So we are in the center of the South Sudan.
And we talked a little bit about the fact that Francis is from the Chollo tribe, which we said was Shiluk, and he said that was for the Arabs' name for the tribe. Which tribal family are you from?
I am from Dinka, the clan called Agar.
Okay.
Yes, Dinka actually is a very large group that got some clan, and our clan in Agar is part of Dinka in Rumbek.
Now, Sam, how long have you been in the States?
I was born in the state and grew up until maybe age of 10 or 12, and then moved to Equatoria, which is used to be the capital of South Sudan by the time, and it is now Juba. And I was there part of my primary education, which is elementary here, and part of junior, which used to be intermediate, and then we moved from Juba to Upper Nile, Malakal, where Francis is. I grew up there actually, and my most friends are from Malakal, from Shuluk and Nuer and other tribes in Upper Nile.
And how long have you been in the United States?
14 years in the United States.
Now, Sam, you, along with Francis, are among the local leadership who have banded together and worked with Rabbi Kaufman on the plan to try to unify the freedom-loving peoples of Sudan and South Sudan, correct?
Yes, yes.
So we have all worked together very hard, and this circumstance is very disappointing to us all, that there's now some problems in the newly formed country of South Sudan.
Yeah, no,
Yes. Do you want me to add anything onto that?
Sure.
Absolutely.
Yes. We've been working tirelessly on this. We very disappointed, all of us, about what happened home. We did not expect this to happen. We thought it's political differences. And it happened. We learned different politics here in this country. You play it cool. You sell yourself, you sell your party, and that's all about. We didn't know that this gun arm will interfere into this business. Unfortunately, it happened. And the father of the nation, who is our president, we are actually asked him. We did that, and we keep repeating that. For the sake of the peace and stability of the country, you need to know more. You need to do more. You need to release those detainees, whether they are political detainees or they participate in that attempted coup. You need to release them because there is always a price for peace. As she has done this, a lot of people in South Sudan rebel against the South Sudan government, and people, they kill a lot of civilians. And President, unconditionally, he offered amnesty for these people. Plus, he promoted these people up to the high rank in the SPLA. I think that is the price for peace. So we are asking our president through this channel today that our president, please, you need to do much. You need to release these detainees for a peace because a peace has a price. You have done that before, and you need to do it now. So we are encouraging, as USASCA, as leaders of that country here in this nation, please, you need to do much because war is not the solution. War will not take us anywhere. And we have seen in this war, nobody going to win. We have seen it through our struggle against the Northern. Nobody won the war. It was always a peace. So you need to listen to voices of peace. And this channel is one of the voices calling for a peace in South Sudan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Hello, Brother Sam. This is Deacon Francis Chen from St. Ambrose Cathedral. It's nice to hear your voice. I would like to just to edit something, especially about the USISCA, United and Southern Sudanese and Sudanese community here in Des Moines. Actually, going back to what you asked, Dr. Mark, yes, what took place in 2011, it was a political separation between the two countries. But I believe that the two communities are still very tied to each other in many different ways. As you can see here, especially in this city, we love very much the city of Des Moines. You will never recognize that this is the Southern Sudanese or this is a Sudanese. We are still united here and back home because there is a lot of connections which is still between us. Even when this political separation took place in 2011, there is large numbers of the Southern Sudanese citizens who are still living in the north, and also there is some Sudanese citizens who are still living in the south. As I did give some information a long time ago about our relationship, particularly we, the Chollo, and or the Shuluk, with the Nuba people, because the largest border between South Sudan and Sudan is the border between the Shuluk and the Nuba people. Those are very tight. There is intermarriage between these two communities. When the war became very tough on the Nuba people, many of them has flee to the Shuluk land. And there is thousands of them who are living today, especially in my hometown where my father was born, Kodok, Kotdok, which is the headquarters of the Chollo kingdom. And they were welcomed by all the Shuluk people. Going back to your call, Brother Samuel, yes, I believe that this should be the call of all the Southern Sudanese intellectuals, that peace is the most needed at this moment. And peace could not come unless the people in the leadership need to put their citizens as their priority and leave behind their political differences or struggle on the power. Our president has done much in the past, but we were so disturbed by what happened on December 15. We are not going to look back on that. We need to unite our voices and call both sides that the ceasefire need to take place as soon as possible. And in order to do this, it is a responsibility of the president to release as soon as possible all the political detainees, and that it will be a sign of showing that he's responsible person, and he would like that freedom which was gained by all the Southern Sudanese people. None of any tribes who did vote against the demand that Southern Sudan must become independent in 2011. It was brought by all the bloods of all the Southern Sudanese people. Today, we are so disturbed because we were thinking that this is the differences between the Southern Sudanese politicians. But I personally, as a Deacon Francis, I'm so disturbed by interfering of the other countries. We were so disturbed by the visit recently by the President Omar al-Bashir to Juba. Secondly, we are so disturbed by a large troops from Uganda who are entering into our motherland today. This will not help peace between the two parties. So we asked, and I join my voice with you, that President Kiir need to show sign of being the father of all that new nation.
Sam, what do you know about the peace talks that are probably being held in Addis Ababa right now?
Well, we know a little about it. As you know, we call some people that we know. And what happened there, it was actually, they're supposed to have a face-to-face talk, which happened on Wednesday, short period of time. And there were a call for Dr. Machar through his representative, the former governor of Unity State, Tabandengai, that if he is actually a representative of all the fighting groups, rebel groups, that are fighting in South Sudan right now against the government. And he said he admitted, yes, and then the government representative, which is a former minister of foreign affairs, Nile, was he asked that we need to make sure that we are negotiating with all parties. We need to make sure that all the fighters, all the rebels are represented by this representative of Tabandengai. And actually, the mediators, they make a phone call to Peter Gadet, the guy that occupied Jonglei State right now. And they asked him whether he is being represented by Tabandengai, who is a dictatorial representative. And his answer was no. He's not being represented by Victoria. And then he was asking if he can dispatch his own delegation to Addis on his behalf. And the same thing happened to James Chollo, the commander that occupied Unity State. And he declined to. He's not being represented by Victoria. And that actually complicates the first days of the talks, because the government say, you know what, we need to make sure that everybody is representing in these talks. So they were working on, I don't have much detail about it, but he wanted to delegate his own representative to the talk, and Peter Garrett wanted to do so. So that complicated the talk mainly. I don't have a new thing yesterday and today. I don't have any. I didn't call anybody. They don't have any new. Where are they stand today? I didn't make any phone call yet. I've been busy since morning until now. So that's what I know so far.
Of course, Brother Samuel, all of us, we rely on the sources that we got back home, but no, really, one of us who can claim that he has a full information about what is going on back home. We have watched on the Southern Sudan TV that after when the moderators try to bring the two parties that it is important that they meet face to face, because there was a condition, and actually it was not a condition, but this was very important for the peace talk to continue and going on, that the political detainee needs to be released, and was rejected by the president. And then the three high level of members of the mediations decided to fly to Juba, the capital of Southern Sudan. Three of them was General Sambayo of Kenya, and then another member of Ethiopia, and then including the head of delegations, the former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Southern Sudan, Nile. They went to Juba and they meet the president, that trying to ask the president, because some people who are the political detainee are the members who were supposed to be in the talks, and these are the people who has important their presence at the talk table in Addis Ababa. It is very important for them to be there. Then the president rejected this. So they fly back to Addis Ababa, and we don't know what took place today. I did not follow up. But as you mentioned in the beginning, Brother Samuel, that it is important that this political detainee need to be released, regardless those commander field who are rejecting that they are not being represented by they do have nothing to do with Dr. Riek Machar. We see that this 11 or 9 remain political detainee have something to do with the talks in Addis Ababa, and they could be the people to bring peace in Southern Sudan if they're released.
Sam, who are the people trying to mediate this dispute right now?
There is a lot of people. Actually, there is a sideline by international community that the IGAD are the direct mediators, but U.S. is behind them, European Union behind them, and the whole world actually are behind the mediators, which are IGAD members. And go ahead.
David, I have a question for you. What do you know about the role the United States is playing in this?
Well, let me clarify one thing first, which is that IGAD is the Intergovernmental Authority on Development, and it's 6 countries in Eastern Central Africa, basically, and those countries are the countries that are surrounding Southern Sudan, and so they have a vested interest in seeing peace and prosperity going on in the region. As far as what the United States is doing, I was on a conference call on Monday held by the White House, or hosted by the White House, that included Ambassador Booth, who's the special envoy to Sudan and South Sudan, included Grant Harris, who is a national security advisor dealing with Africa, and included people from the State Department and also from USAID, USAID. There are multiple different channels that the United States is pursuing right now. The first thing is there's a lot of frustration going on because virtually every single person is telling the president of South Sudan that he needs to release the political prisoners, and everyone is telling Riek Machar that he needs to stop threatening violence against the government. And neither one of them seem to be listening. That seems to be the consensus. They're looking for voices to help President Kiir and Riek Machar listen. USAID is sending a huge amount of humanitarian aid into the region. There are big problems because when you're dealing with the conflict in Sudan, you had many refugees that came across the border into South Sudan. Virtually all of the refugee camps are now in precisely the region where the conflict is going on. And so there are a number of those camps that are threatened, that may the violence. There are people who were in camps who are now fleeing back across the border to Sudan, into other countries. There's somewhere around 180,000 displaced people from what I just saw on the news update today. Over 1,000 people have been killed. And the United States is trying to figure out how to keep this conflict from escalating further. Most of those people were probably killed just in the first couple of days of this conflict. The initial violence was widespread and severe, and things have tapered off. The question now is how to get everybody to step back from the cliff, and to try to work together to prevent there from being a civil war, which is a much worse scenario than we currently in. You're talking about a country with about 10 million people that has been traditionally heavily militarized. It would be very easy for there to be a lot of soldiers on both sides. I saw the other day that the government is considering basically instituting a draft and drafting new people to be in the military because they want more soldiers involved. And one of the big concerns here is, to a certain extent, this is a conflict between the Nuer and the Dinka, and some of the other tribes are saying, "Why are you destroying the country in this conflict between two tribes?" And not only that, but as you can hear from our participants here today and from our organization, but even the members of the Nuer and the Dinka are saying, "Why are you destroying the country on a personal battle between Kiir and Machar?" So as long as we can get people to back off, and this is really what the United States' goal is to try to get them to back off and get to the point where this is once again a discussion of how the SPLM is being run, rather than a discussion of battling it out on the battlefield for control of the country. Because if it goes that direction, you're going to be dealing with tens of thousands of people killed, and you're going to be dealing with a destroyed country for a long period of time. So that the United States is working right now to prevent civil war, and they're trying to get any voices to get people to listen. So in Des Moines, the United Sudanese and South Sudanese Communities Association is working on trying to promote peace and unity. We held a vigil a couple of weekends ago that was well attended. I would have liked to see a lot more people, but when I talked to my friends around the country who are involved in advocacy for peace in Sudan and South Sudan, they didn't have anything close to that in their community. So I feel better about what we can do here. And we're going to try, and we're gonna create a document here, an open letter to President Kiir and to Riek Machar, encouraging them to work toward peace and unity and to back the country away from the precipice of civil war. Does that sound about right, Francis?
I think you are in a right track, and thank you so much for clarification that you have made about the moderators or the IGAD. This is not the first time for the IGAD to come and help the Southern Sudanese people. They were behind the Comprehensive Peace Agreement, which was signed in 2005. And this is the countries that could be affected by the civil war if these conflicts now turn to civil war in Southern Sudan. Of course, as we talk today, there is a large number of the Southern Sudanese already who has fled to northern Uganda. All these days, I've been contacted by many members of some of my relatives calling from Arua, which is northern Uganda, from Gulo and from Kampala, and then from Kobiko. Also, I have been contacted by many people who were calling me also from Kenya, Nairobi, those who were able to make it outside. So that is mean that those countries, they have a responsibility that the region could be affected by this war in Southern Sudan. What I'm looking for and hoping for is that every single Southern Sudanese intellectuals will devote themselves to work for peace, because we have been disturbed by some voices here in the United States who are calling for violence. They use the word of violence. They support what it is going on. And I want to correct you a little bit, Rabbi. Although people think that this is a war between the Dinka and Nuer, this is not true. Mm-hmm. It may be that it's happened that to be that the top leader, political leader in the country, president and the former vice president, to happened that to be from the two different tribes, that is the Dinka and Nuer. But this is really a political differences. And I was hoping that the president could look into it in that way, because this 11th political detainee that the Riek Machar is asking for them to be released today, 5 of them are from the Dinka community. Mm-hmm. Only 2 were Shuluk, and then another 2 from Equatoria. The majority of the political detainees there are Dinka. If you look to the delegations of Riek Machar, a good number of them are Dinka too. Mm-hmm. Among them is the son of the former founder of the SPLM, Mobior, Garang de Mobior, mm-hmm. who is with the delegation. If you look into the side of the delegation of the government of Southern Sudan, you will find many different members of the community. Among them, it will be Dr. Lama Kola Jawin, who is the leader of the political opposition in the country. So people are trying to put it like the Sudan or Southern Sudan being owned only by the 2 tribes. That is not true. Mm-hmm. There is 64 different tribes in Southern Sudan. What has happened is what happened on the 15th, that the
December
Nuer,
15th.
Yes, yeah. December 15th, that Nuer feel that they have been interrogated as one ethnic group. I have my cousin who got killed. I have my brother-in-law. I have some other members of my family whom we do not know till today. Have they been killed? We consider them as being missing, but we don't know what happened to them. Mm-hmm. It is true that the majority of the people who got killed, majority of them are Nuer. So, and today in the UN camps, in UN compounds in Juba, there is thousands of Nuer who are there. So we would like the president really to work very hard and put much work to get those people back into their houses and not to stay in the UN compounds.
Yeah. And it seems like there are people who are promoting violence on both sides who want to make it an ethnic conflict, and they're using past history of conflict and saying that that's what's going on now. But it's fairly clear that it at least began as a political conflict, and the goal is to keep it there.
I think, David, you were the person that said that American goals are to have people back off the violence, and number 2, to discuss how the SPLM is run. Sam, can you tell us in brief, what is the SPLM and how does it function in South Sudan?
Thank you, Mark and David and Deacon Francis. I totally agree with the way you guys clarified this. It is not between the 2 biggest tribes. It is actually a political difference. And we're fighting to keep it that way. Unfortunately, there are voices in diaspora, even here in Des Moines. There are voices that are calling for the violence. There are people that here in Des Moines, if you go to SPLM Diaspora, which is a website, a broad website, that thousands of people are participating in it. You read through it. You guys may know some names. You may guys know some name and faces who are in Des Moines here preaching for more wars. Unfortunately, this is what happened. But as Francis put it, it is not actually between these 2 tribes. It is a political differences. The bad thing about it, these people got their followers, and that is a bad thing. South Sudan is actually few people 27% are educated. The rest are not. None. They've never been to school. You can see the differences. That is whereby Riek Machar got his Nuer followers, and President Salva Kiir got his own followers. Because from this group, let's go back to your question. SPLM is Sudan People Liberation Movement. It was actually one of the wing in SPLA struggling time. It was SPLA, SPLM. SPLA was a military wing, and SPLM was a political wing during the struggle time. And after the independence and after a comprehensive peace agreement, which is CPA signed, the political wing of the SPLM, which is SPLM, Sudan People Liberation Movement, was registered in Sudan as a political party. And then people went for an election in April 2010, whereby they elected President Kiir as the president of South Sudan government. By the time was not a country, and the first vice president of the Sudan.